Today's tech news moves fast, but understanding it shouldn't be hard. That's why Snarful Solutions Group brings you Connecting the Dots, where we break down what's happening in tech and why it matters to you. Now, let's dive in with your hosts.
Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome back to Connecting the Dots.
Great to be here.
It is Friday, April 25th. Let's do a quick weather check. Southern Plains, you've got some pretty severe thunderstorms, heavy rain, so stay safe.
And out in the Southwest, still a fire weather threat, so definitely be careful there.
Yeah. Here in Sacramento, though, partly sunny, pretty nice, high around 65.
Sounds pleasant.
And quick market looked, Dow closed yesterday at 398.84, much.84. SP 500 ended at 5485.86.
Holding steady, more or less.
And, since it is Casual Friday here at Snarful Solutions Group, why did the AI cross the road?
Oh, boy, here we go.
To optimize the traffic flow, of course.
All right. A techie one. I like it.
So today we're doing our deep dive, connecting the dots on 3 big tech stories hitting the news.
Yeah, looking at what's happening and maybe more importantly, what it could actually mean for, your everyday life.
Exactly. We've got AI and human creativity, some big moves in space tech, and a very different kind of electric truck.
It's quite a mix today.
Okay, let's kick things off with this first one. It's from arstechnica.com. The headline is, "In the age of AI, we must protect human creativity as a natural resource."
That phrasing natural resource really jumps out.
It does, right? It makes you think about creativity in a totally different way. Not just something we do, but something valuable, maybe even finite.
Well, that's the paradox the article touches on. AI is getting so advanced, it's actually making us reevaluate how important human creativity is.
Because these AI models, they learn from us, right? They're trained on just massive amounts of stuff humans have created: art, text, music.
Exactly. And the worry is, what happens when AI starts generating so much content, potentially more than humans have ever created in history? Could it just overwhelm everything?
Drown out the human voice almost. That's a sobering thought.
The article uses this analogy, comparing our shared culture, all that human output, to a resource that AI could potentially strip mine.
Oof. Strip mine. That's a strong image.
It is. And it highlights the difference. AI can generate based on patterns it's learned, but human creativity, that comes from somewhere else.
Right. It's tied to our lived experiences, our emotions, our unique insights. It takes time, energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just computation.
Mm-hmm. The article calls each human brain a unique knowledge engine. That diversity of thought, cognitive diversity, is crucial. If everything starts coming from similar AI sources,
You could lose that diversity. Get this sort of monolithic thinking.
that's the potential risk. A homogenization of ideas, maybe.
So for you listening, just think about the stuff that enriches your life, that song that really gets you, the art piece that stops you in your tracks, that novel you couldn't put down.
Those all came from a human mind, a human experience.
What happens if the primary source for new creative works shifts towards algorithms?
Mhm.
Does it lose something, that human spark?
It's a big question. Will culture feel different, less personal, maybe? Definitely something to keep an eye on as this tech evolves.
Yeah, definitely food for thought. Okay, let's shift gears now from the kind of philosophical to the, very physical space.
Right. Next up, also from Ars Technica, the Rocket Report. Covers a couple of things. Issues with rideshare launches and China sending a new crew to their space station. But we're focusing on 2 key updates here.
Okay, what do we got?
First, NASA's big rocket, the SLS, the Space Launch System, they're working on the Block 1B version, and part of that is a huge mobile launch tower.
The giant platform they use to roll it out and launch it.
Exactly. They just stacked another segment on it at Kennedy Space Center. This thing is going to be enormous, eventually 355 feet tall.
Wow. But these huge government projects, they often hit snags, right? Time, money.
And that's the concern here. NASA's own Inspector General is projecting the tower might not actually be ready until spring 2029.
2029, that's quite a ways off.
And the potential price tag could be around $2.7 billion just for the tower.
Billion with a B. Wow.
And, there's even uncertainty about whether the SLS Block 1B rocket itself will be ready by then. Delays, maybe even cancellation. It's complex.
It really highlights how incredibly difficult and expensive space exploration still is, even the infrastructure part.
Absolutely. But the report also mentions a shift for a private company, Astra.
Astra. They were doing smaller satellite launches, weren't they?
They were with their Rocket 3, but now they've gone private again and just landed a $44 million contract from the Department of Defense
Okay, for what?
for their new rocket, Rocket 4. And this is a big pivot. They're not aiming for small sats anymore.
So what's the goal with Rocket 4?
Get this. A two-stage mobile launch vehicle designed for potential global cargo delivery.
Mobile launch and global cargo.
Yeah.
How fast are we talking?
Potentially under an hour, delivering supplies anywhere on Earth.
Under an hour. Seriously. How?
The idea is to launch up to, say, 1,300 pounds of supplies into a temporary orbit and then use re-entry vehicles to bring it down precisely where needed.
That sounds like something out of science fiction. Point-to-point delivery via rocket.
The military is definitely interested. They call it point-to-point delivery. The report notes they have similar interests in using SpaceX's Starship for this kind of thing, too.
So it's a real area of focus then, this ultra-fast logistics idea.
It seems to be. Think about disaster relief, critical military supplies. The implications are pretty significant if they can make it work reliably and affordably.
Now, for you listening, okay, maybe you're not getting Amazon packages delivered by rocket tomorrow.
Probably not quite yet.
But how might these kinds of space tech advancements, eventually impact us?
Well, in the longer term, cheaper, faster rocket tech could make global supply chains quicker for everyone. More satellite launches means better communication, navigation, weather data.
Things we already rely on, just maybe improve.
Exactly. And things like that huge SLS tower, even with the delays and costs, they are foundational steeps for potentially sending humans further out, back to the moon, maybe Mars someday. It enables future exploration.
It's interesting seeing both the big government programs and these nimbler private companies pushing things forward. Okay, one more shift. Let's come back down to Earth, literally.
All right.
Last story, also Ars Technica. A $20,000 electric truck with manual windows and no screens. Meet Slate Auto.
Now, this one really caught my eye. A $20,000 EV truck.
Yeah.
That's really low.
Right. Especially considering potential tax credits might push it even lower.
Yeah.
Slate Auto, apparently backed by Jeff Bezos, interestingly enough, just unveiled this thing called the Slate Truck.
And the whole concept is minimalist. They call it a blank slate, meaning they're focusing on what they call accessible personalization. The base truck is super basic, but you can add these flat pack accessory kits to change it, like make it into an SUV configuration or more of an open air truck.
Flat pack, like IKEA furniture, but for your truck.
Sort of. The idea is repairable, customizable, but basic. We're talking manual roll-down windows, no built-in screen for infotainment.
Wow. Okay, that is stripped down. What about the EV basics? Range, charging.
They're claiming two battery options. A smaller one, about 57 kilowatters, for around 150 miles of range, rear-wheel drive, and a bigger one, maybe 84 kilowatters, targeting 240 miles.
150 to 240 miles.
Yeah.
That's usable for a lot of people. And charging.
It uses the standard NACS port, the Tesla-style one, and they say it can charge up to 80% in under 30 minutes if you find a fast enough charger, 120 kilowatt peak. So, decent charging speed.
Okay. And performance. Is it sluggish?
Sounds practical enough. Basic 17-inch steel wheels. They're saying 0 to 60 in about 8 seconds. Top speed of 90 mile per hour. Single motor, about 201 horsepower. Not setting records, but perfectly fine for a utility vehicle.
And customization. You mentioned kits, but what about, color?
Instead of factory paint, they're planning to offer body wraps so you can change the look more easily, I guess. More customization.
And the no screen thing. What's the plan for music or maps?
Their suggestion is basically use your phone or a tablet. Plug it in via USB. That's your infotainment system.
That's a very different philosophy from almost every other car maker right now, loading up dashboards with giant screens.
It really is. They're making a bet that some people prioritize affordability and maybe repairability over all the integrated tech and bells and whistles.
But what about safety? Stripping things down can sometimes impact that.
They say they're still aiming for a 5-star crash rating, which is good. And it will include essential active safety stuff like automatic emergency braking and forward collision warning, up to 8 airbags. So the core safety seems to be a priority.
So, okay, here's the question for you listening. Yeah. What do you think? This bare bones approach, is it appealing? Would you give up the fancy screens, the power, everything, for a significantly cheaper EV that you could maybe customize more?
It's a really interesting trade-off, isn't it? For some, that price point and simplicity could be exactly what they're looking for to get into an EV. For others, maybe losing those conveniences is a deal breaker.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating to see if this less is more approach actually finds an audience in the EV market.
Definitely one to watch.
All right, well, that wraps up our deep dive for today. We touched on that really important idea about protecting human creativity as AI grows.
The latest moves in space, both the big NASA projects and Astra's pivot to rapid delivery.
And the surprising new entry in the EV world, the super minimalist Slate truck.
So thinking about all these different threads, what do you think is the most significant shift happening in tech right now?
Good question.
Is it how we'll interact with AI creatively? Is it our push further into space? Or maybe it's this potential shift toward more basic, accessible technology like that truck? How might these things reshape our future?
Lots to mull over this weekend. And hey, remember, we are here to help here at Snurful, so reach out on our website if you have any more questions.
Absolutely.
Thanks for tuning in to Connecting the Dots.
That's a wrap on today's top stories. Remember, tech doesn't have to be complicated, and we're here to help connect the dots. If you've got questions or want to learn more, visit us at snarful.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.